Hello and welcome to Out of Pocket. My name is Ryan, aka Ron, and today we have another tasty tier.
Tasty tiers,
All right, so check it. Today we are doing the worst 15 EX Pokemon in the game. Not the best, we're doing the worst 15 EX Pokemon. So without further ado, let's name our tier list. Actually, quickly, I have to explain something. So usually in a tier list, S is a good thing. And this tier list, S is the worst. Like if you are S tier, you are the worst EX Pokemon in the game of Pokemon Pocket. So D tier is what you want to be in this tier, because D tier means you almost weren't on the tier because you are almost good enough to not make it. C is your little worst, B is your worst, A is your worst, S is you are the worst of the worst. You are awful. And there is one S tier. All right, now let's name our tier list. In honor of this being a tier list on the worst, we're gonna do our best California girl impression and yeah, go from there. So the D tier, without further ado, is it's okay, I guess. Moving on to the C tier, we have I don't like it. C tier. Moving on, B tier we have yeah. Could spell this with two W's, but we got one. All right, moving on to the A tier, we have gross. And now finally, for our worst of the tiers, our S tier, the worst Pokemon EX in the game, in my opinion, and probably a lot of people's. Well, we're not doing it yet, but the name of this tier list is literally the worst. That was bad. Let me do that again. Literally the worst. I don't know how to do a California girl that good. Thankfully, I'm not that. But all right, let's jump into the tier list without further ado before I make a fool of myself. All right, so we are gonna do the worst 15 EX Pokemon in the game. There are many more than that. We're gonna do the worst of the 15. I have them at the bottom here, but I'm not gonna show them to you because what fun would that be? We're gonna play it by ear. We're also gonna go in order from best to worst. So we're gonna start at the it's okay, I guess tier and move up to literally the worst. And we're gonna go in that order. Now the criteria for this tier list were I started, if you know my channel, I do math on these cards and the math tells me how good cards are. So I started with the worst math in the game. That's how I started, and I kind of compiled that list of what are the worst mathematical cards in the game. And then once I felt like I had a good tier list off of that, or a good selection to choose from rather, then I kind of mentally tweaked it around a little bit and used my brain and was like, I think this one should be worse than this. I kind of incorporated synergy thoughts into my tier list, but not really. It's mostly just math in a nutshell, in a vacuum is what I'm trying to say. Taking these cards in a vacuum, not counting their synergies, because there are some cards on this tier list that have some decent synergy, but overall, none of them have great synergy and a lot of them are just really bad. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, at number 15, I debated putting, oh, I gotta put these on the screen. Almost forgot. All right, at number 15, this is not it. This is my only honorable mention. I debated putting either this Pokemon or the one that I'm actually putting at number 15. So Raichu, you could consider the 16th worst EX Pokemon in the game as far as I'm concerned. It is a promo, as you would expect, and spoiler, there are other promos on this list. In fact, let me count them. I count 5 other promos on this list than Raichu, which means that's right, a third of this list is promo EX Pokemon, and I think it's all the promo EX. Let me look at that real quick. All right, I am missing one promo that I'm aware of, Cresselia, and I also just did a short on Mega Medicham. I'm not doing Mega Medicham. I don't think I would put it on this tier list anyway, but I think it just misses, but Mega Medicham is not far off of this tier list, I'll put it that way. So Mega Medicham might indeed be the best promo that they have put out. It probably is. I would probably put Cresselia second if you're familiar. I'm not saying it's good, but it might be second. All right, so anyway, honorable mention to Raichu at 16. We have 140 HP, 130 attack, 1 retreat, 3 cost. This Pokemon also does 30 damage to itself. Now, it's not awful, but really, the only thing good about Raichu is that it can one-shot Suicune if it doesn't have a cape. That's about it, because its HP is okay, its attack is good, but it costs 3 to get online, which yes, you have like Pichu and whatever, but you're also doing 30 damage to yourself, so there's a reasonable chance that you're only getting off one attack for 30 and you lose 2 points. It's just not good, but it's not on this tier list. So anyway, let's actually move to number 15. All right, number 15 in the it's okay, I guess, tier, we have Mega Pidgeot. All right, there we go. I made everything a little bigger. All right, so we have Mega Pidgeot. I debated this, and I think, yes, Mega Pidgeot people tried it and they were like, oh, it's pretty good, but like, it's just not. Like, the only reason I think people think it's pretty decent is because A, it has high roll potential. Sorry, 2 reasons. A, it has high roll potential, and B, it's one of the early Mega Pokemon. But I think as Mega Pokemon keep coming out, that's the plan. I think Mega Pidgeot will increasingly become one of the worst Megas they've ever printed. Yes, it's colorless, and so that makes it mediocre, but it's not good. So 210 HP, 100 attack, 2 retreat, 3 cost. We're not doing the math today. This is a tier list. It says flip 3 coins for each heads, discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. If all of them are tails, this attack does nothing. So the things going against Pidgeot really are, I mean, first of all, it's a Mega, so if it dies, you lose the game. Second of all, it has 2 retreat, that's not that good. Third of all, we'll just go down the list. It only does 100 damage, that's not a lot, especially because fourth, it has 3 energy costs, which is not good. As I heard Pocket Mads talking about the other day, like, you have this kind of thing where anything with above 2 costs for its attack, unless it's like Hydreigon or something that can generate energy, is just probably not competitively viable. I think that's pretty fair for the most part. You have, you know, Darkrai, or I mean, Giratina is an exception because it generates. You have Kangaskhan, but I think Kangaskhan's going to fade as well. I know it's decent, but it's just, Kangaskhan's a lot better than Pidgeot, but it's just not that good. So on top of all those things, you're flipping 3 coins, which, yes, this doesn't necessarily impact your damage, but flipping coins is just really generally bad to begin with. And so if you flip all tails, your attack does nothing. And that's really what's putting Pidgeot on this list. The fact that you can do 0 damage and you're a Mega Pokemon and you're only doing 100 anyway is just really bad. On top of that, if you discard 1 random energy from your opponent's active, that's probably not doing that much. So realistically, for this to be decent, you have to hit at least 2 heads. And even if you hit 3, that might be redundant. It could win you the game, but it might be redundant. So it's like, Mega Pidgeot's not bad, but it's just not that good. And I think it's gonna fade from relevancy pretty quick, and it already has. But the more Megas they put out, the more this thing is just gonna look bad, I think. So there's your first promo, but don't worry, they get worse. All right, moving on. Next up, we have Arcanine. All right, Arcanine's an old Pokemon. I don't remember what set it's from. I wasn't playing the game at the time. It might be GA, I don't remember, but Arcanine is a stage 1, 150 HP, does 120 attack, has 2 retreat, 3 cost, 1 colorless, Inferno, Onrush. This Pokemon also does 20 damage to itself. So it's not terrible, it's just there's nothing good about it. Like, it's just mediocre on all accounts, and therefore it's bad. 150 HP is okay. I mean, it's a relevant threshold at this point, but it's just not that good. 120 is not killing anybody, really. And even if it is, it's pretty mid. 2 retreats, not good. If it had 1 retreat, it might not be on this list, but 2 retreats, bad. And then 3 cost, plus it does 20 damage to itself. It's just not powerful enough. It's not fast enough. And its HP is okay, but it's just not that good. It's too slow. It has bad retreat. It's just kind of the epitome of everything is below average, and therefore it's bad. Like, you can win games with it, sure, but there's just no purpose in my knowledge of running it where you could just run other things like Flareon, or can't even think of other stage 1 EX fire Pokemon. But you know, you have Blaziken and you have Charizard, and there's just so many better things to do with fire. So Arcanine at 14. Moving on to 13, we have Lapras. Hey, look, it's another promo. I just looked at some of the Pokemon I have coming in the C tier, and I was like, why do I have those ahead of Lapras? And then I was like, oh wait, the tier list is in reverse. So yeah, basically I'm saying Pidgeot's the 15th worst, Arcanine's the 14th worst, Lapras is the 13th worst, etc, etc. So Lapras is a basic, 140 HP, it's a promo, of course, 80 damage, 3 retreat, 3 cost, 1 colorless. Bubble Drain says heal 20 damage from this Pokemon. It's kind of like Arcanine. It's just the epitome of everything is below average, and therefore it's not that good. Like, And the only reason I guess I'm putting it ahead of Arcanine is because it's a basic and I don't like doing damage to myself. So it's got 140 HP, which is not bad. It does, but then everything else is just terrible. It does 80 damage for 3 cost. It heals 20 from itself, but that's not often. I mean, it might be worth something sometimes, but it's not that good. And then again, 3 retreat is just unbelievably terrible. Like, you're putting this in the active and you're just sticking it in the active. So basically this thing is meant to be just like a shield at the beginning of the game, but like you don't even want to put energy on it unless you have a way to ramp your bench somehow, because if you run it with like, you know, Magnezone or something, but it's just, yeah, it's just not good. It's just not good. Like, they should have just made all these Pokemon have 2 costs and they would have been decent. All right, let's go to number 12. Number 12 and last in the D tier, which is a good thing again in this tier list, we have Poliwrath. Poliwrath I originally had lower, but I'm like, you know what? It's okay. It's not good at all, but it's not as bad as it could be. And so it's a little more consistent than the Pokemon coming below it. So it has a stage 2, it's 180 HP, it does 100 attack for 3 energy, but 2 are colorless, and it has 3 retreat. However, its Hydro Knuckle says if this Pokemon has any water energy attached, this attack does 40 more damage. So it's pretty simple. It's not that hard to get water energy because of Manaphy and Mantike. Well, I guess mostly Mantike, or yeah, mostly Mantike. You kind of have to run Mantike in this, or dual energy, but I really don't like that. It's not consistent. 140 is pretty good if you can get it online. It has decent synergies with a couple of things. 3 retreat is just abysmal. You'll notice all these Pokemon have 3 cost attacks and they all have either 2 or 3 retreat. So there's a theme here. Yeah, it's just almost okay, but it's just not. So yeah, Poliwrath here is one of the bad EX in the game. So all right, let's move on to the I don't like it tier, which is our C tier, meaning they're getting worse. All right, I did debate this one a little bit, but first in our C tier, we have Venusaur. Originally, I actually had Venusaur lower because the math is just really bad, but Venusaur does have really good synergies around it, and especially with the new Ivysaur. But again, I'm mostly evaluating this in its own lane, so I'm not really like counting Ivysaur. If you counted Ivysaur, I think it would be probably still on this tier list, but lower down, which is a good thing. So, but we're gonna put it bottom of the C tier here. So 11th worst EX Pokemon in the game. I think it's fair. It's just like, yes, you can run Erica, you can run Leaf Cape, you can run, you know, Shaman, you can run Lilligant. There's a lot of synergy around grass that helps tanky Pokemon, but this Pokemon is just so slow. Like, you would have to run this because Ivysaur exists. I think you could argue this is better, but again, I'm mostly evaluating by its own merit. And so I'm not really counting the new Ivysaur in terms of this tier list. But if I did, it would probably go in the D tier. So just keep that in mind. All right, Venusaur EX, it's a stage 2, 190 HP, has 2 attacks. Razor Leaf does 60 for 3 cost, which is so bad. And then Giant Bloom does 100 for 4 cost, and it heals 30 from itself. 2 colorless in both, and then 3 retreat. So this is really a Pokemon that early on, I'm sure you just stuck in the active and just tanked hits. And you can still do that, but again, the game is just so fast. Like, I mean, and also because Mega Venusaur exists now, there's like no reason to run this Pokemon, because would you rather have 120 damage attack and 50 more HP, and you poison and put your opposing Pokemon to sleep and poison them? Or would you rather do 100 and heal 30? Like, it's a no, and yes, it's 1 less prize point, but Venusaur has just objectively been complete. So even in the vein of, oh, well, if you run Ivysaur, it's better. Well, also in that vein, if you count other things in the game in terms of this tier list, if you contribute, I can't speak. If you put Mega Venusaur in relation, it's just like, you're just going to run Mega Venusaur. So as soon as I'm like, oh, well, Venusaur could go, you know, a little closer to not being on this tier list because of Ivysaur, then you consider that, oh, well, there's Mega Venusaur, which is just pretty much strictly better. So then it goes back down. So it's like, I want it to be good because I've like lost games to it because I tend to run decks that don't do that much damage. And when I say lost to it, I've like against the computer mostly. because no one's playing this Pokemon. But like, it has 190 HP, which is good, but Razor Leaf does 60, which is not enough. You would almost have to run like a baby Pokemon if you didn't run Ivysaur, and then even then, 100 damage for Giant Bloom is not a lot. So you're just relying on getting an early Ivysaur if you play this, and then just sustaining and praying you're not running something that actually does damage like Altari or Hydreigon. It might be viable against like non-meta decks, but it's way too slow. It's way too slow. It doesn't do enough damage. So yeah, you could maybe argue it better than the ones in my D tier there, but sorry. But it's just, yeah, I'm a little conflicted, but I'm gonna keep it here. It's just mathematically, it's just not good. It's just not good. Literally the only thing pulling me is the grass synergy that it has. So anyway, let's move on. You know what, we'll be nice to our friend Venusaur. We'll move it here. We may even shift it later. I think, because I looked back at my list and I have factored a synergy in a little bit. And so I think it's, if you really factor in the grass package, then I think you probably have to put it, you know, ahead of Poliwrath, ahead of Lapras for sure, ahead of Arcanine. We'll keep it right there. You know, yeah, just on the fly stuff. Well, because we'll factor in the grass package a little bit and we'll keep it there. So, all right, yeah, because I looked at my list and I have factored in synergy a bit. So we'll be fair. All right, next up, now into the C tier for real, we have Wugtrio. All right, so Wugtrio, stage 1, 140 HP, 1 retreat, 3 cost attack, pop out throughout. One of your opponent's Pokemon is chosen at random 3 times. For each time a Pokemon was chosen, do 50 damage to it. So it's doing 150 damage, but it's spread out randomly. It does 50, 50, 50. Sometimes it will hit the same, sometimes it will not. Wugtrio's not bad. I've played decks against it a long time ago. Like, it's kind of also one of those you can go Mantike or Manaphy and, you know, hey, high roll. But first of all, I just can't stand random. I can't stand high rolly bad stuff that's not even good. Like, Hydreigon's good and high roll. Wugtrio's just like, and it's not even doing that much damage. Like 53 times is fairly easy to play around. So yeah, it's not mathematically good. It's not practically that good. It's kind of fun and it's kind of like threatening when you're on the other side. Like, oh no, like all the random ones. And there's one other on this list, spoiler, but I think it belongs here in the I don't like it tier. So Wugtrio. All right, the next worst EX Pokemon in the game, according to me, is Alolan Dugtrio. Alolan Dugtrio is one of those Pokemon that you're kind of like, it's almost decent, but it's like high roll on steroids. It's like Wugtrio, but times whatever. It's a stage 1, 130 HP, which is bad. 60 times attack, 1 retreat, 2 costs, which is good. Triple headbutt says flip 3 coins. This attack does 60 damage for each head, so it can do up to 180 and it can also do 0. And I believe I have seen it do both of those things. Like, if you get 1 coin, it's 60. That's almost like not even worth doing depending on what you're playing. 2 for 120 is pretty good. In fact, it's not bad at all. And then 3 for 180 is fantastic, but the 1 retreat's good, the 2 cost is good, but the HP is not good at 130, and it's so high roll and so low roll. You probably almost have to run Will, but even then you could just do 60 damage. It's just one of those Pokemon, if you want to like go and every single game feels like a coin flip, or probably even worse, then this is the type of Pokemon for you, or like a Marowak or something. Man, I should put Marowak on this list. Now Marowak's a little better, slightly. Yeah, I have Marowak slightly higher. I just looked at it, but not a ton. Anyway, this is just a Pokemon if you want to high roll the heck out of your opponent or get low rolled and you just enjoy your games being completely up to coin flips, then this is maybe a Pokemon for you. And you're probably going to end up on the wrong side of the coin flips the majority of the time. So there's Alolan Dugtrio. All right, the 8th worst Pokemon in the game, and spoiler, it was in the thumbnail. Maybe some people would put this one even lower, but I am doing Delmise. Could be Delmisi or Delmise, but I like Delmise. So it's a basic. It has 140 HP, 80 attack, 2 cost retreat, 3 cost attack. I might just repeated myself. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon cannot retreat. So it's literally Lapras, except the opponent can't retreat. So I think it's worse than Lapras. Now again, you could say, oh well, it's got the grass synergy of it has Leaf Cape and Erica and all that stuff, but functionally, like, first of all, Lapras has Irida and it still has Giant Cape and it has, you know, other such things. They have the same HP, they have the same attack, they have the same cost, they have the same, in fact, Lapras has 1 more retreat, so you could maybe say there, but yeah, I mean, it's expensive to get this Pokemon online. And then yes, it's a basic, but like its ability does nothing. I'm planning to talk about this ability later, but the only Pokemon that has this effect that I think is relevant is Kingdra, because it's 2 cost, it does decent damage, it does 90 damage, and it's got 170 HP, so it can actually trap Pokemon and be relevant and survive a hit. So Delmise is just like, by the time you get your energy online, it's probably just going to be dead anyway. At least Lapras gives you a chance to heal a little bit, which is probably the main reason I have it above. Yeah, Delmise is just like, again, if it was 2 cost, it would be okay, but because it's 3 cost, it's just forgettable. 2 retreat, just not a good Pokemon. All right, and lastly, in the C tier, we have Bibarel EX. I believe it was Godsley who once made a tier, and he was joking, where Bibarel was the S tier, and of course, it's not good. So it's it's a stage 1 colorless Pokemon. 160 HP, 100 attack, 3 cost retreat, 4 cost attack. Carefree Press says heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. So it's a stage 1, 160 HP, that's okay. 100 damage for 4 energy is abysmal. 3 retreat is horrible, and it heals 30. Now, again, because it's healing 30 like Lapras, and Lapras is 20, but like Pokemon like this, you're probably going to try to build a tank around, so you're going to try to go, you know, do some kind of energy generation, maybe the babies, and try to, or you could just do like Snorlax and, you know, camp Snorlax and then get Bibarel online, and you're just going to try and heal as much as you can, you know, do PCL or Lucky Ice Pop or whatever. But this Pokemon is just so slow. It can't get out of the active without Ilima or Lyra or something, really, and it just doesn't do enough. Again, if it had 1 less cost, it'd be okay, but still not good. And yeah, it's not good. It's just not good. Let's go on to the B tier. All right, first in the EO tier, we have Wigglytuff. Now, you could possibly argue Bibarel is better than or worse than Wigglytuff, but you're a bit hard pressed. I mean, you could definitely argue it, but it's not a fantastic argument. So you have Wigglytuff is 140 HP plus 80 attack and then 2 retreat, 3 cost colorless. Sleepy Song says your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. Now, because your opponent's Pokemon goes to sleep, you could argue this is a little bit better. It's mathematically worse than Bibarel on my math, a little bit, but putting asleep is not bad. But it's a stage 1. It has 140 HP. It does 80 damage, which is not good. 2 retreats, okay. 3 cost, and then your opponent's Pokemon's asleep. So because it puts you to sleep, you could argue it's, you know, a little better than it is. Like, you could maybe switch it with Bibarel, but again, mathematically, Bibarel is slightly better, according to my math. And Wigglytuff is just so slow and does so little damage and does not have enough HP that it's like, you would have to build this on your bench as a win condition, but like, I think I'd rather have Bibarel as my win condition because it does 20 more damage, it heals itself. Sorry, it has 20 more HP, it heals itself, and it does 20 more damage. So, and I'd probably be okay with the extra energy as opposed to playing the high roll game of, oh, my opponent to sleep. Like, putting your opponent to sleep can be good if you're Swablu or Venusaur or something, but like, Wigglytuff is just not, like, you pretty much have to put them to sleep the first time. And this is probably coming in after you've already gotten something killed, which is why I say I'd probably rather have Bibarel, because it's a little tankier. Wigglytuff, like, say you've lost a Pokemon already and you come in, like, you are totally banking on putting them to sleep. That's just probably the reality. And so I actually considered this Pokemon once upon a time when I went on my initial disruption trek, that I was trying to figure out what was disruptive in Pocket, but it's just not that good. It's just not that good. Moving on. Let's see how many times I can say it's not that good in this tier list. All right, what I believe to be the 5th, we're at the top 5 now. The top 5 worst EX Pokemon in the game, according to me. What I would say is the 5th worst EX Pokemon in the game is another promo. We have Rayquaza EX. All right, now you could say here, well, Ryan, surely Wigglytuff is worse than Rayquaza. Maybe, but maybe not. Let's look at it. So Rayquaza is a basic, 140 HP, 2 retreat, 4 cost. One of your opponent's Pokemon is chosen at random 4 times. For each time a Pokemon was chosen, do 40 damage to it. I almost thought this Pokemon was 50 damage for each random, and I forgot it was 40, which just makes it so much worse. If it was 50, it would be higher, but it's not. So, I mean, it's a basic. It's got 140 HP, not great, but it's not bad. 2 retreat, 4 cost is really the main problem. And then, again, it's only doing 160, and it's spread over 4 times, and like, keeping your Pokemon or having enough health on your bench that like the 40 spread over 4 different Pokemon is not that like damaging is pretty likely. So I mean, I played against one of these the other day in one of my gameplay videos. What was it? I was playing Hydreigon, and because I was doing my Ron Plays the Meta video with Hydreigon, and like it just, they were playing it with like Plusle and Minim or something, and I killed a Plusle and they just conceded, and they didn't even have an energy on Rayquaza because the game was just so far over. Like I literally already had a point with Hydreigon, and they had no energy on this thing, and no energy on the rest of the bench. So it's just like, I mean, you have to play this thing with baby Pokemon, and then you have to, even if you get it into the active, and like you probably need at least 2 hits to win the game, if not 3. And it's got 140 HP, and it's just way too slow. Like it's just way too slow. If you're gonna play the strategy, play the Dragonite, you know, because it's just more powerful, more HP, more damage. I believe the Dragonite is 4 times at 50 damage, and it's got more HP. You just have to stall longer, but it's probably ends up being pretty similar. Anyway, 5th worst Pokemon in the game, according to me. All right, now let's move on to the 4th worst Pokemon in the game. I will stop saying according to me because that's obvious. All right, and the top 3 are pretty bad, but we all kind of know that. Number 4, Licky Licky, still in the ew category. Let's read it. Licky Licky is a stage 1. It's very much like Bibarel, except it's just worse. 160 HP, 100 plus attack, 4 retreat, 4 cost attack. Licking Fury says flip a coin until you get tails. This attack does 40 more damage for each head. So Bibarel basically is this Pokemon, except 1 less retreat and you heal 30 guaranteed. This Pokemon, if you flip tails, you're just strictly worse by a lot than Bibarel. If you flip a heads, well, you're better in some circumstance because now you're at 140. So if you run, you kind of probably have to run this with baby Pokemon and Will for the chance of doing 140 for 4 energy, which is horrendous. Now, there's a world in which you high roll and you roll 2 heads for 180 or 3 for 220, whatever, but that's a small chance, first of all. And second of all, there's a 50% chance that you're getting 100. So, and it's just stuck in the active except for supporters. This is just a not good Pokemon. It's just not good. But let's move on to even worse. Top 3, here we go. All right, our first gross Pokemon, and I want you to know that I really wanted this to be number 1 because mathematically this is one of the worst Pokemon in the game. It just is, I think there's enough argument to be made that it's better than number 1 and number 2, that I think because of synergy and possible future implications, I think in possible niche scenarios, I think I had to put it at number 3, else people riot if, you know, for the 10 people that watch this. But anyway, I wanted to put this at number 1 because it is so bad. But at number 3, we have Gigalith from the latest set, Fantastical Parade. All right, Gigalith says it's a stage 2, 190 HP. You can watch my reaction to my Fantastical Parade set reaction to this Pokemon if you want. 190 HP. Maybe I'll throw it in this video really quickly so y'all can see it. Gigalith EX, goodness, I see they really need a fighting ramper. They need a fighting baby. 190 HP, stage 2, that's bad. For retreat, for cost, Megaton Cannon. This attack does 140 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. During your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. Oh. I mean, do I even need to do the math? That just looks atrocious. Like, what's the point? I mean, I guess, okay, you can snipe a Suicune on the bench. Congrats. Goodness, that is so bad. Not the T, the Pokemon? Yeah, I mean, that is terrible. Like, why even make this? I mean, unless I'm just on something, this is so bad. Yeah, you've got to make a fighting baby. Where's the fighting baby? Like, please, I see no fighting baby. You got to have fighting. All right, anyway. Drillbur, 190 HP, stage 2 fighting Pokemon, 4 retreat, 4 cost, all fighting, so you can't ramp this with a baby. Megaton Cannon says, this attack does 140 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, which is very strong. However, during your next turn, this Pokemon cannot attack. So, it's a stage 2, 190 HP, that's not bad. There are Pokemon with more HP though, stage 2, I think. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, that aren't megas. 4 retreat, so again, once you're in the active, you're probably in the active unless you got a Lyra or something. 4 cost, and it's all fighting, which means the only way this will ever be remotely relevant is if they make a fighting energy ramper. So either a fighting baby, which I talked about in the clip if I played it, I probably will plan to, or another Pokemon that's not Passimian, because Passimian has to die to put energy. That's, I think, in the computer deck that when you do the missions after the Fantastical Parade came out, I'm pretty sure the computer deck has Passimian with this, but like, you just lose to Sabrina, you just lose to Repel, you just lose to Greninja. I mean, anything that can kill Passimian quickly, you probably lose to. So, and even if you kill Passimian and then this comes in and they get a 140 off, now they can't attack during the next turn. So like, yeah, they'll probably kill one of your Pokemon and that's great, but then they can't attack. So like, you just get a free attack. And yeah, there's a world in which it survives, like you run Passimian or something, the Passimian dies, and then this comes in and kills one of your Pokemon, and then you hit it and then it kills another one of your Pokemon and wins the game. That is possible. But man, it's so slow and it's so bad. It can't attack a second time. It's just, I understand the effect is really strong, but this thing is gonna need synergy to be remotely playable because right now it's just not. Now, this is a Pokemon that could have potential to probably not get off this list, but at least move up the list or down the list in this case, because if a fighting baby comes out, I heard someone say, what is it? What's the Sudowoodo baby? Not bonsai, that's a tree. Bonsly, that's it. Wow, these images are not showing to y'all. There we go, this thing, Bonsly. I'm gonna take the easy road and not. Yeah, anyway, so if this thing became a baby ramper, then maybe Gigalith has a chance. All right, let's move on to the top 2, and you probably know what they are if you've played this game for any length of time. And I did debate these. I really did debate which one's the worst, which one is the next worst. They're both really bad. You could switch places potentially with 1 and 2, but well, I'll leave that to you to decide. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you think. All right, so at number 2, Ultra Necrozma. And again, I really did debate putting this number 1, and I could be convinced by a good argument in the comments. All right, Ultra Necrozma is a basic 150 HP dragon Pokemon, a promo, because as we all know, the promos are very good. It has a 3 colorless attack, Photon Claw, that does 60 damage, so it's like a better Venusaur. But then has a 4 cost attack, Shoegaze, that does 120 damage. But the kicker is it requires 2 Psychic and 2 Metal Energy. It also has 2 Retreat, and Shoegaze also says discard the top 5 cards of each player's deck. So in theory, I mean, realistically, like in the game now, you're probably, by the time you get Shoegaze online, you're probably neither player has much of a deck left anyway. If Mega Gyarados can barely discard people's decks realistically, then Ultra Necrozma is certainly not doing much of that. Now, there's some compelling maybe future potential here with like what they've done with Aegislash, or, you know, things like they've got weird like psychic metal energy, at least with Aegislash, maybe nothing else. I might be blanking. Let me know if I missed something, but I think the only reason I did not put this at number 1 is because it doesn't lose energy. And so once it gets online, it's decent. It's just so hard to get online. So, and its effect is like, you better have everything you want. And then if it could be good if you're discarding certain cards of theirs, but like, it's just not good. There's another not good, but it's not good. But again, very near to this, and you could make an argument for either, but what I am calling literally the worst is, drumroll please, Mega Latios. Make this thing nice and big so we can all glory in how bad it is. All right, Mega Latios just came out like a month or so ago, and it is kind of just setting a new bar for how bad promos can be. Now, it's a Mega. It has 180 HP, which is tanky. It does 160 attack, which is great. However, it has 2 retreat, which is okay, but not good, especially because I think, as someone has pointed out, Mega Latios is fast. And so it doesn't totally make sense that it has 2 retreat, like from a game perspective, from a, what's the word? Like a lore perspective. And then we get to its attack. Sonic Impulse, 3 cost, 2 are water, 1 is psychic because it's a dragon. And it says discard all energy from this Pokemon. All energy. So it's basically like a way worse version of Dragonite. The only thing that makes it remotely playable is that it's basic and it has a lot of HP and 160. So the good things about it are it's basic, it has 180 HP, and it has 160 attack. The bad things are, and they're really bad, that's why it's number 1. It's 2 retreat, which is pretty bad. It's 2 different energy costs, which you expect from dragon Pokemon, and it is water, so you can run it. You kind of have to run it with Mantike. You either are running dual energy or you're running Psychic plus Mantike. Either way, like, it's gonna be a little awkward to get online. And then here's where it gets really bad. These are the bad things about it. Number 1, it's a Mega. So if it dies, which it's very likely to at some point, because it can't defend itself very well, you lose the game. So like the next Mega I have on this list I'm skimming is Pidgeot. It's only this and Pidgeot. Pidgeot is actually okay because it can kind of defend itself. Mega Latios is like, if I do 160 to you and then you survive it, I just lose. So that's the first problem. The second problem is also, I said it was a good thing, the 160, but it's also a bad thing because this Pokemon is meant, I think, to finish games. And 160 is not usually going to be enough to do that. It might kill a Pokemon, but unless it's, you know, their Mega or their last EX Pokemon or whatever, like, you're probably not uncommonly not going to win the game after you attack with this. Which leads to problem number 3, that if the game is not over when you attack, you now cannot retreat because your retreat cost is 2 and you have no energy. So like, you can't do anything except just die. Unless you're running, again, Leaf or Lyra or Leaf or Lyra, like, which you probably almost have to run. And then the fourth and final problem, because the 2 energy is like, okay, that's a normal dragon thing, and 2 water and 1 psychic is actually like kind of manageable. But then the real nail in the coffin with how bad this thing is that you discard all energy. So not only can you not stack energy, so you can't stack like 3 psychic or 3 water or 2 psychic or whatever, you discard all of it. So you attack 160 and then you can't, you're just done. Like, you probably, in any realistic game, you're getting this attack off 1 time. And if you don't win the game with it, then you have to have a ton of tools around you to help get you out of the fact that if you die, you lose the game. So again, you could argue Ultra Necrozma's worse. You could. But I think the discard all, plus the fact that it's a Mega, plus the fact that it has 2 retreat, just all combined to make this probably the worst EX Pokemon that they have yet to put out. They might put out a worse one in the future, but man, ideally they don't. Again, I really wanted to put Gigalith first, but I think at the end of the day, Gigalith has actual potential, and Latios, unless they, okay, so, well, I just had a thought. So they just put out Juggler, right? So if you run some crazy Juggler deck, maybe this is okay. But like the only way this is doing anything remotely decent is if they put out cards that actually support Dragon Pokemon or really support getting energy back after you discard. Otherwise, this thing is just abysmal. So there you have it. Thank you for coming to my tier list of the 15 worst EX Pokemon in the game. Please let me know your opinions in the comments if you want to, and I will plan to see you soon for a trailer.